No, this scared me so bad. It was in between there and I looked over and just saw these big eyes. He needs to get out of here. I don't want Delilah to mess with him. But I screamed. Okay, I caught him in that cup and threw him out down here. And now Delilah just knocked me out. I don't want to get close to it again. Why did you do that? I didn't do that. He's jumping in now. Hi, Mr. Froggy. I found him filming like this. Beautiful little chin. Okay, we are going to be doing some arts and crafts today. I'm going to sit y'all right over there. I know the light is the window. But we are going to paint an Easter egg, paint your own lit ceramic eggs kit while I listen to my audiobook. I'm trying to show this, but with the slide is hard. So that is what they can look like. I'm probably only going to pick one. It just depends how long it takes me to do that. I'm going to do that as I listen to the audiobook for Chesapeake Requiem. Okay, I don't really get the purpose in the white paint because it doesn't really show up that well. Because I was like, did I paint this spot already? And then I have to look to see if I actually painted it. But that's our first Easter egg, and again, these light up. So I'm just going to let it dry off before I put it on display. Here's the second one I did. I did kind of paint the bottom because the teal it did fall out, and this one obviously just put it out. So beware that they're not tightly placed in there, and it's still kind of wet. But this will be different. So it's just right there. Shout out to all the people in Madison who are getting advertisements. So stressed. I've just had technical difficulty after technical difficulty today with TikTok, my phone, streaming. Everything has just been chaotic, and here comes Fred. I have so much to show y'all. But our weekly quote, because I want to get this when I still have my makeup on because I'm about to eat lunch, and again running late with things because Delilah hasn't had her peanut butter time, so I need to be quick. But our quote of the week is, "It is the possibility of having a dream come true that makes life interesting," by Paulo Coelho. I don't know how you say his last name. But yes, that is so true, because you never know. You never know what life is going to throw at you. And then I do have this book now, but since I don't have time right now to open that. But I did get a gift from a subscriber, from Cletus. So thank you, Cletus, for sending a gift and always commenting and being such a supporter of the channel. So first we have An Immense World by Ed Young. This is how the animal senses reveal the hidden realms around us. We have Fred right here. I don't know. Y'all can't see him. But this is a nonfiction and was winner of the Pulitzer Prize and one of the New York Times 10 best books of the year. I think I heard about this from Brady on TikTok. We love animals here, and I think that yes, they know what is up. They know what is going on. Don't you, Freddie? You're so smart, young man. And this book is going to reveal how his mind works. And he also got me this like fluffy belt I haven't opened because I just wanted to show y'all. It comes in a cute little pink box. Like, this is so cute. I wanted to show y'all that. And then I will obviously open this. But thank you again to Cletus for getting us all of that. I will review that book one day on the channel. But y'all know there are so many books, so I cannot give a definite date of when I will get to it. But I will, I promise y'all. Now let's look at what we are reading this week. Not our main focus. The one that I'm starting my day with is Donlin Voices, an anthology of indigenous writing from New England, from claw going right into my toe, but okay, from the University of Nebraska Press. Fred, why did you abuse me like that? That was abuse. So this is what I'm reading in the morning when I work out. Next, this is our nonfiction vlog of the month, and the book that I'm reading is Chesapeake Requiem, A Year with the Watermen of Vanishing Tangier Island by Earl Swift. So I do want to read y'all the description because this will be our main focus this week. A brilliant, soulful, and timely portrait of a 240-year-old crabbing community in the middle of the Chesapeake Bay as it faces extinction. Stop! He's tapping me with his claws out. Tangier Island, Virginia, a community unique on the American landscape, mapped by John Smith in 1608. Settled during the Revolution, this tiny sliver of mud and marsh is home to a small fleet of crab and oyster boats and 470 hardy people who live an isolated and challenging existence. With one foot in the 21st century and the other in times long past, they are separated from the countrymen by the nation's largest estuary and an hour-long boat trip across 12 miles of often tempestuous water. Geography that has made Tangier a chief source for the rightly prized Chesapeake Bay blue crab, and has lent the island its claim to fame as the soft-shell capital of the world. But the very water that sustains Tangier also slowly erases it day by day, wave by wave. The island has lost 2/3 of its land since 1850, and still its shoreline retreats, meaning this storied place will likely succumb first among U.S. towns to the effects of climate change. Conservative and deeply religious Tangier men now ponder the end times. Chesapeake Requiem takes an intimate look at the island's past and present and tenuous future, and sounds a warning on the coming fate of countless coastal communities. So this, is the back different? Yeah. This is what we will be focusing on. I will be doing the audiobook for that. Next, my mood read is The Trees by Percival Everett. This is it's listed as a thriller, but I think it's more of a horror so far. I mean, I'm not scared, but there might be some paranormal aspects to this. So basically, people in Money, Mississippi are starting to be murdered, and alongside the bodies is they're finding another body that is obviously very dead. They are trying to find the connections and all of that of what is causing these murders, and it says on the back, but they haven't found out yet, but the second dead body is a man who resembles Emmett Till. And we're just seeing this from like the perspective of the sheriffs and all that, and all the law enforcement around all that. I don't need to say all of that. I've been saying that a lot lately. Now, my ebook pick is Go Tell the Bees That I'm Going by Diana Gabaldon. This is the 9th and most recent book in the Outlander series. This is a very genre-bending book, but following a family during the American Revolution with some time travel elements involved, and that is the weekly TBR. Yeah, I cannot find the little thing that blotches out the addresses, so we're just gonna have to open this package very carefully. This is coming to us from eBay from Danielle in Ellis, Wisconsin. Pretty teal color. I talked about what this is in last week's vlog, but she offered me 40% off, and I had to grab at that because that is a great deal. Okay, we have our book, and it is in like saran wrap. Hopefully I can get that off. No, it's a little cute thank you note. That's what I wanted to show y'all there. But this is Enchant the Heavens by Kathleen Morgan. Just that cover. I do say my videos are meant for audiences 13 and up. It probably is a little higher than that, but YouTube makes you say 13. But let's see. Okay, I don't see really a description on the back, but somebody in their blurb kind of said what it's about. I don't know if saran wrap's the way I would wrap a paperback book. Like, I don't want to damage it in any way. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting close. And there we go. There is the book. Pretty good condition for a mass market. Is there maybe a description on the inside? Okay, there's like, the daughter of a powerful Celtic chieftain, Rihanna longed to be as free as the wild hawk soaring above the mist of ancient Britain. Instead, her tribe trembled in bondage before the hated Roman invaders, and Rihanna was further bound, hunted by her mystical gift of prophecy, enchained by her betrothal to a Celtic barbarian. And, oh, hold on, look. These things that used to be in there. in romance books. Like, the romance genre, I feel like, has really blossomed in recent years. Obviously, it's existed for a long time. But historical romance that's about Romans, yeah, I want to read that. And I don't think I've really watched anything that takes place in Britain before the Romans invaded there. I mean, I've seen things like Boudica, the Warrior Queen, I think is what that was called, Centurion, where there is Roman elements, but not just strictly British, which I know there's that show, Britannia. I don't know if I am able to watch that or not, but I would like to. I watched the first episode years ago. I couldn't get into it, but now I'm like really into that kind of thing because there was a lot of like magic involved. Rome happened, so I really want to check that out. But I'm gonna watch Drive to Survive. I started watching that today, the first episode of the most recent season, because I'm officially starting my F1 era. George Russell is my favorite driver because he sounds so posh, even though he acted like the Gamecocks was a dirty name for a sports team. It was like a video where they had to guess like these American college mascots, and my guy Cocky was in it. But I was like, he sounds so posh and so polite, and that's why he's my favorite. And then my dad pulls for Kimi Antonelli, who's also a Mercedes driver, so we're pulling for Mercedes. And as a kid, I liked Mercedes because Lewis Hamilton was my favorite driver, which, like, I still like Lewis, even if he's not at Mercedes. But, you know, so we're just sticking to the roots, sticking with Mercedes. And we have a romance book with this very interesting cover here. I don't know what is going on over there. I think I have sauce on me, but we're vlogging anyway. I got to, I think it was 20% into Chesapeake Requiem, A Year with the Watermen of Vanishing Tangier Island. We are going to go through the notes that I took. It's too soon for me to know what I'm going to rate it, but I'm getting 4-star vibes. I'm actually really liking this. Let's get the notes out. But right off the bat, I don't know if it was the introduction. Yeah, it was the introduction. So we're going with Carol Pruitt Moore, who is, her family's been there for like 8 generations. That's a very long time. That's going all the way back to like the start. And we are seeing them go to this island that is, you know, a little broke off from where they are. Canaan, I think was the name, like Caanan. There is where her family had lived for many and many of years, and now that island is unlivable, and they're going after Hurricane Sandy, and just seeing like the graveyard was basically washed away. Like, she picks up 2 human skulls that were in coffins, but again, it got washed away in a hurricane. And when I picked up this book, I thought it was going to be about isolated communities and how can you really be isolated in the modern day, but this is also about nature and rising sea levels, and as they refer to it as erosion, taking away their island, like physically taking it away. But when we were having that introduction, I thought it was so like romantic writing, because you're walking where your people have been for generations. I think it's very like impactful. If you experience that, you know it. Atmospheric writing, just really setting the scene. This is so vivid. I can easily picture, I'm picturing like Southport, North Carolina, which I was in a mood when I went there. I probably should go back to like really appreciate it. But that's the vibe I'm getting of this place, even though I know Southport isn't isolated. It's not an island, but that's what I'm picturing in my head. Isn't it interesting? So there are about 400 citizens on this island, and the majority of them are, you know, their family has been there for years and years. And they can all trace their not all, but you know, the ones who have been there for so long can trace their ancestry back to one man, and that's just crazy to me to think about. But yes, nature's restlessness is something that was said, and that really is what this reminds me of. Or like, I think that's the perfect way to describe this book of Mother Nature. Earth is going to take back what is hers. That is going to happen. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. So I was wondering, like, why has this been so fast in recent years? Why is it all? Because, like, at one point on the island, there used to be plants, like factories of where they would do seafood and a mansion, but all of that is gone now. And I'm like, why is it so rapidly happening? And we do get answers. And something that's kind of crazy, that a lot of people on the island, as the island is vanishing, they legit believe this is the end times. Like, this is the end of the world. Yes, it is the end of the world for their island, but they think the world out there it's the end of the world, and that's why their island is vanishing. Which, I mean, I guess it could, but but on page 20, it said scientists, these like 3 scientists came together to do a paper on this island and how it's most likely going to vanish in the next few decades. And in that paper, they said sea levels fallen in the 20th. It looked like it was on track for sea levels to fall in the 20th century, if not for man-made climate change. And that's just crazy to think about, that all of our industries and all of that have had such a huge impact, that our sea levels were actually supposed to be going down, but actually they're going up because of man-made, because of humans, because humans love to screw things up. If I'm being honest with you. On page 21, the next page, it says, as humanity fails to take effective action to reduce carbon emissions. Like, I do not understand. Why are we literally, like, not doing anything? Like, I know we're probably doing some, but we're not doing enough, and I do not understand that, because there is only one Earth. There's only one Earth. This Earth was made perfect for us, and we're not doing anything to make sure we have somewhere to live, because these people, their island's vanishing. If we think of the whole greater scale of this whole Earth, is that eventually going to happen to all of us? It's absolutely crazy to think about that. Like, nobody seems to care that much. I have been a believer that the Earth goes in stages of climates changing. We can say, you know, going up, going down. But at the same time, okay, so that's what I believe, but I also think that our man-made industries and all could have an impact on that and could change that. But I do think the Earth does go in cycles, but that's not why we're here today. And it says, this is kind of like, why is this so important? Why is it so important to know about this? Because this is likely going to be the first community in the United States that we see vanish because of rising sea levels. But nobody seems to care. The main focus is on the big cities like Miami, New Orleans, New York, Norfolk, and all these other, Jacksonville, all these big cities, which, I mean, yes, human lives matter in general, but they're like, where does it qualify? What makes you qualify as being more important? That was a really interesting discussion. Okay, this is like changing gears here, but the fishermen who catch your food, like, it's really humanizing of how, because this is where the majority of the blue crabs come from, and when you're eating that seafood, I never thought, like, oh my gosh, the whole process of catching it, because, you know, I've had seafood in like Maryland and Virginia, and that's, you know, where we are. I never thought about all what went into getting those crabs out the ocean, getting them into the restaurants, and just thinking of the story of all of that it takes to get the food on the table. I never thought about that, and it's really interesting. I mean, you can do the same for vegetables and other meat products of farmers, thinking of them and how what that whole story was. It's super interesting to think about. Talked about the dialect, how in Tangier Island, and in some of these more isolated communities like Ocracoke in North Carolina, there is a certain distinct dialect. A lot of people say it sounds like Elizabethan English, but this guy is like, no, it doesn't. But there is this thing that they do, so I'm just going to read you this little section here. All of this is delivered in Tangier's odd tongue, a tuneful color confluence of accent and dialect that stretches one-syllable words and knots them into two, warps vowels, and to an untrained ear can be indecipherable as Tagalog or Navajo. Hard comes out as Howard. Island as Oiland. Visiting, oh my god, yeah, that sounds really Scottish. Visiting journalists have long pegged it a stubborn vestige of Elizabethan English preserved by the island's isolation. That's not the case, but it does evoke a time long past, and it's rendered all the more foreign by the islanders' habit of saying exactly the opposite of what they mean. talking over the left, it's called, or simply talking backwards. It's signaled by subtle inflection, often by slight stress on the subject of the sentence. Thus, an islander might react to a beautiful woman by saying, "She ain't nothing to look at." I witnessed an example before I even arrived on Tangier when a Mustang took a corner too fast in Crisfield and spun out in view of a crowd on the dock. "That car, it didn't go sideways," one islander commented. Replied another, "I'll bet its face ain't hot." Like, where did that come from? Why did they talk like that? I wish it said more about that because I am intrigued. Next, we have in 1812, this was a really like big place for the British, like the British stationed themselves there, going, you know, into DC, going into Baltimore. Baltimore was the third largest city at the time. And this guy, Tom, he was like, "You don't want to go there. It's not going to go well for y'all going to Baltimore." And it didn't go well for them. And, you know, we had the Star Spangled Banner to prove it. And that made me think, what was the anthem before the Star Spangled Banner? Was there one? And I didn't realize the Star Spangled Banner was originally a poem and not a song. Lastly, this is a very religious place. I think I told y'all in the description that this is like a really conservative community. Like, they will have their Trump signs and all of that. But if you're like, "Oh, I don't want to read about Trump supporters," no, you need to educate yourself on why people believe the things that they believe, even if it's different than your beliefs. It might make you angry, it might make you feel emotions, but you need to realize that not everybody in the world believes the way that you believe, and it is important to understand why, because you're not going to get your beliefs across to them and you just call them stupid for believing something different than you. And that goes either way, you know. You can't, if you are conservative, you can't call a liberal stupid just because you don't agree with their opinions. I talk about this all the time because it's something that I've been seeing for like 10 years. And I'm like, that doesn't get anything done. Insulting people does not get anything done. I was saying, it's a very like religious, conservative community, and it goes back to 1812, where that man he was like really preaching and everything during the war, and that got a lot of people going there, where there are like, you know, the healings, like where they're really healing people and putting their hands on people saying you're healed. There was even a woman who during the whole service, her face was like shining. She looked so different, like angelic. And then after the service, back to normal. So now there are two separate churches there. But back in the 1800s, people were coming in the masses, coming to this port. They were like, you would think there's a big mart here. You would think there's a lot of commerce going on here. But no, they were all going there to hear these religious services. And to this day, it's still a very religious community. And that is all that I'm going to talk about for Chesapeake Requiem today. And I am going to go have some pizza rolls for dinner. It is time to talk about the trees because I am pretty much a third of the way into it, but I wanted to get to 25% before I gave y'all an update. We're basically going to go through Call Pal. Now this, it's just, you know, an early rating. This isn't going to be our official rating. I mean, it might be, but right now we're not doing it as an official one. So my biggest issue is definitely the characters. I am getting a lot of these people confused. A lot of people's names who start with the letter D. That's been something I've picked up on, at least today. I picked up on it. But we have so many law enforcement characters. Like you will have the sheriff, deputies, the coroner, then these two guys who are like the special forces, I think MBI is what they were called, who have come up from Hattiesburg. And I'm like, there's too many of them going on that I don't know who is who. Like, especially with the local law enforcement, because Ed and Jim, they are our MBI people, and then but everybody back in like Money, Mississippi, I don't know who they are. So we're gonna give it a 3 for characters at the moment. I do think that could go down, but we will just have to see. But also, like, this is gonna play into atmosphere and writing as well. These characters are so Southern. Like, these people would be on Facebook. If you get what I'm saying. Like, they are very Southern, and you can just very much tell. The atmosphere, I'm going to give that a 3 as well. It hasn't played a huge part in the story. As you can tell, this writing style is told just in a very short way. Like, that's all for chapter 17, just this page right here. And it's just not an atmospheric book, but it is, again, extremely like easy to picture these people. It's just, again, very southern, very rural, small town. The writing, I am going to give a 4 because I do really like that short writing style. Oh, we probably could do the writing up to a 5. Yeah, I'm actually gonna bump that up to a 5. No, we're gonna do it a 4 because okay, so for the writing, the dialect is so good and just so spot on. Percival Everett is a local author for me. He is from Columbia, which is just right down the interstate, about 55 minutes from me. Yeah, I can tell that he's from here. He knows what he's talking about. He knows how to write this setting, and no, he's going under there to chew on the plastic. Stop pulling Fred by his backside. He's been doing that lately, and I cannot find what he's chewing on, and it's stressing me out. But okay, back to this. The writing, we talked about the dialect and everything, just so spot on for how people like this would talk. Short writing, fast-paced, and we love that. So next would come plot. I'm gonna give the plot a 4-star because this isn't immediately a story that I would be drawn to, and I gave the writing a 4-star rather than a 5 because it's not my absolute favorite, because it's not really poetic, because I like poetic writing that is short still. And then just with the dialogue, sometimes it'll just go on where it's just like dialogue like right there for a little bit. I'm not a fan of that. I can get easily confused by that, but since I am doing the audiobook, I'm not really struggling. But if I was reading this physically, I would struggle with that. I said plot. This isn't a plot that I'd be instantly drawn to, but I do think it's good and very intriguing. So we're gonna give the intrigue a 5. I think the intrigue is definitely the best part because I have no clue where this is going to go, how these like paranormal in quotes aspects are going to work. And I would love to, I know there is a book about Emmett Till that came out recently. I would love to read that just to see what inspirations Percival Everett used to write this book. But I don't think the plot is the big thing here, because like as I said, the characters, I have a hard time knowing who is who, but I can picture them so easily in my head. And then, I mean, obviously there's themes of revenge in the Deep South, because this is like Emmett Till is getting revenge for his murder. As the uprising has begun in this provocative page-turner that takes direct aim at racism and police violence, Percival Everett offers a devastating critique of white supremacy and confronts the painful legacy of lynching in the United States. And yeah, it's doing exactly that. So as I said, intrigue is getting a 5. Logic, I'm giving a 5 as well, because this all makes so much sense of how these kinds of people, how these white people would be in this situation. It's just so spot on, because I've heard this kind of talk before and all of that, not by people I'm close to, I should say, but people online and just, you know, people in my community. It's just so spot on that it's crazy. Again, I definitely know that this guy is local and knows what he's talking about. And then for enjoyment, I am going to say, we're going to say a 4 because I am enjoying reading this. So that's a 28. We're going to divide that by 7. So right now, this is giving 4-star vibes. And usually around this time, a quarter of the way into the book, I know what I'm going to rate a book. So it looks like I'm going to rate this a 4-star. But we will just have to see how it goes. And I should say the audiobook has been really good so far. It's Happy Tuesday. Today was the day that I was doing the painting that you saw in the intro. So I do have paint. I love the look of paint. It takes me back to like 2010. Where paint splatter stuff was super cool, like on jeans and all. Oh my gosh, I love it. But I don't want to bring skinny jeans back because too tight and everything. It's just not natural. But our clothes natural. Okay, so we are here to talk about Chesapeake Requiem. I got to 48%, I think is what it was. I read 100 pages today, so I do need to write that down because I actually haven't written that down yet. Do y'all have any books with like these half dust jackets? This is the one for the book, and it's only like half. Now, did he lay on the pen? I think Fred might have laid on the pen because I am not seeing it, so I guess I'm not writing down how many pages I read. But we will go through my notes. The first one is, my only real issue with this is the flow at times. And I mean, and then it just doesn't hit that 5-star quality. But what do I mean by the flow? So it'll be telling one story, then go on to a tangent, and then go back to the original programming. And for me, I'm just like, what? I personally just don't like that in my writing. And this is kind of honing back to something we talked about yesterday, is nonfiction humanizes the little things. Like, we're talking about fishermen and the fish or the crabs on your table. They're watermen, they're not fishermen. But it humanizes all of that, and just industries. Obviously, this is the seafood industry. And it's just amazing how books can do that. And I think that's so fantastic, because it just makes you, one, more empathetic, which I preach about. And if I ever go to a protest, one of my sign ideas is about empathy, because I preach it all the time. The world lacks it so much. So I just think that's so important to see different industries. Like, I am thinking of the library book by Susan Orlean that humanizes the library system. This is doing the like crab industry, seafood, you know. And oh my gosh, so Uker is the mayor of the town, and oh my gosh, like, he lets the blind crabs go because he's like, they've made it this far, I don't want to, you know, kill them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And then like one of his friends was like, how can you tell if they're blind? He's like, you can just tell if they're not like a normal crab. And I was like, and then there was another time where he says his son found a dolphin who was like, you know, tied up in netting, and the son let him go, and he's like, he gets that from me. And there was another thing that this is really interesting. So he, you know, he's out on the water and comes across a baby sea turtle who has a gash in its head. So obviously he's like, I have to call somebody about this. And he took it out of the water because he was like, it's gonna die if I'm just letting it, because it was having a hard time like staying upright and all that. So he took it out of the water and put it on his boat, and he called the Virginia Aquarium in Virginia Beach, and they were like, yeah, we can take it, but we have to call the feds because you're not supposed to take them out of the water. And so the feds do eventually call him, and they're like, we'll let you go this time, because, you know, they just gave him a warning. He's like, I'm not calling them again, because like, he's like, that turtle would have died if he had not intervened. And so that just blows my mind that you can go to like federal prison. But I mean, I know there's loopholes and everything, but still, that just amazes me. This man was just being kind-hearted towards this turtle, and they called the feds on him. Like, that's crazy. And something else that I didn't realize, and y'all know we were in the Hampton Roads back in December, and that's like where my family's from and whatever. I did not realize Virginia Beach and Norfolk are the biggest cities in Virginia by population. I would think it was up in Northern Virginia, the DC metro. I knew Richmond only had like 200,000 people, but I just did not expect them, Virginia Beach and Norfolk, to be the biggest cities in the state by population. And another thing, in the Chesapeake Bay, by 2045, the water is supposed to be up 2 feet higher. To me, that is just insane, and I cannot wait to tell my dad about that. Random fact about Tangier is that on the island, this is the only like town in Virginia where you do not have to have a license plate. That is not required. The majority of people do drive golf carts. I guess in Florida, when I was on a golf cart, they do have tags, but you just have to have a sticker saying you're from Tangier. And I'm like, what if when they go to the mainland, like, is that fine? Like, does it fly by? Like, are you allowed to do that? If you are somebody, this is going to be such a wild comparison. If you like small town romance, this is a good book for you, because it's just going into all the little aspects, the church, the restaurants, and as we keep talking about the fishermen, the schools and everything, and just this community. It's really building a community. So if you like small towns, this is just opening that up and showing everybody that makes a community, and I think that's fantastic. That's another thing about this book, is it's not sad and depressing, even though this is about their island, how it has the potential to vanish. It never feels down in the dumps or anything, or very depressing. Just, these people have such strong personalities and everything. Like, as I said, I love Uker. He's the mayor. I love him. I don't know if he's still the mayor, but just like, yeah, I've really enjoyed reading about him. And oh my gosh, so Donnie Crockett, so the Crockett's are one of the original, if not the original family on the island. And so Donnie, his wife died in like 1982, and then his oldest son died of cancer. So, and he has like a big cat colony. 20 cats, and they all have names. So in 2005, this little section was about storms and hurricanes. So he's like, one of his cats, I think Spotty was her name, had to go get spayed, and obviously they have to go to the mainland in Maryland to get that done. And he sets out like the drive into town, and like on Tangier, nothing out of the ordinary. Takes the boat over to Maryland, nothing really out of the ordinary. And when he's leaving the vet, that's when things get kind of like, the weather is rough, the water is rough. But he always wanted to be home to feed the cats. Oh my gosh. he goes with Spotty on the boat, and they have never been seen again 20 years later. Nothing. The only thing they have found is like a ring from the boat, like, you know, a safety those ones they throw out. Nothing has ever been found of them. And there is even another man who was like, okay, if it's fine for Donnie to go out, then it's fine for me to go out. So he left Crestfield, I think is the name of the town. He left that same day. He made it back. Donnie didn't make it back. And so it was just saying how storms can come on so suddenly out on the water. And oh my gosh, that broke my heart. This man was taking his cat to be spayed. Oh. And then all the other cats at the house just waiting for him to come back. Just think of it. Oh my gosh, I don't need to cry. I don't need to cry. I just told y'all it's not sad and depressing, but some of these they pull at you, and you will really come to love this community. So that is all for Tangier Island, or for Chesapeake Requiem today. Guys, I just got back from Target. I usually don't film at this time, so like you can see on my hair, the blinds, the sun, how it's hitting. So please excuse that. But I did get a book at Target today. I looked for this book last week and just could not find it. It said it was like on the end cap last week, but it wasn't. But it was in the YA section this week. Yeah, you heard that right. I got a YA book. This is Our Infinite Fates by Laura Stephen. I've been seeing this book everywhere, and like everybody was so hyped for it, and I'm like, how did they even hear about this book? I don't know this author. It's other books we'll have to see. But Christian and Maddie, their videos about it, they were the ones who finally convinced me, because I was like, oh, past lives, like 1,000 years. Intriguing. Let's see what this is about. But it does have the gold sprayed edges. Like, that is like a Bible. I'm not comparing this book to the Bible, but the copy of the Bible that I had when I was in school had like the gold sprayed edges like that. I don't think it had it at the top, but maybe it did. And then it has this on like the hardback. Maybe that's all love is in the end, and endless tempting of fate. Nothing on the back, but we have all that. Let's see. Okay, it doesn't have special end pages or anything like that. I mean, you can't have it all. Here's from England. I was picturing an American. It says The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue meets This Is How You Lose the Time War, which I want to read both of those. In this fantastical and epic love story that defies death as two souls reincarnate through the centuries, Evelyn can remember all her past lives. She can also remember that in every single one, she's been murdered before her 18th birthday by Arden, a supernatural being linked to her soul. The problem is that she's quite fond of her life she's in now, and her little sister needs her in order to stay alive. If Evelyn wants to save her sister, she'll have to find the centuries-old devil who hunts her through each life before they find her first, figure out why she's being hunted, and finally break their curse and try not to fall in love, again. So several hundred years ago. It doesn't say the exact year. Y'all know that stresses me out. Okay, then we go to 2004, 2022. If you like have them up close, like, you'll see that doesn't really look gold, but then when it all comes together, it looks gold. That is interesting. But yeah, let's see if the author has any more works. I'm not seeing that she has any more works. So I don't know how everybody heard about this book, but the gold foiling is super pretty. It also kind of reminds me of is it Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor? I read that book a few years ago and I did enjoy it. Just the vibes kind of remind me of that. So that is the book that I picked up at Target today. It's time for that nightly update. I got to 70% in Chesapeake Requiem. I am going to go through my notes as per usual. So my first one is just the word eccentric, because that is how this community is. It's so different than anywhere I've been, anywhere else that I've heard of. It's just like nowhere else and so unique. And that is one of the great things about nonfiction and reading in general, because even in fiction, it's traveling these places you've never been to that you may never get to go to. It's just like they're in another time, in another place, because they are so isolated. Next, these are two just little things that I'm curious about. Because I don't know when this book was published, actually. Let me look and see. Published in 2018. So I'm super curious how COVID went for this little island and what all these people on the island thought of it, because it is like a very like conservative and religious place. Like I don't want to say cult vibes. I feel like that's disrespectful, and that's not really what it is. But if you're somebody who likes cult stuff, then I think you might like this. But what did they do when COVID happened, and where did these people vote? Because they were talking about the 2016 presidential election, and I'm like, where are the polls? Where are these people voting? I'm super curious, because even their mail vote isn't government. Like I don't know how those people get the mail, but the people who had the mail vote, they deliver the mail to the island, and that family has been doing it for years and years. So it's all just super fascinating, so different. As I said, very eccentric. And if you like small town, like books that take place in small towns, this is a real life one where it's a small town and you're getting to know all this cast of characters in this small town. Oh my gosh, I'm sounding like John Cougar Mellencamp, but I think that a lot of people will enjoy this. I don't know if it's the best nonfiction I've read this year. I would have to think of what other nonfiction books that I've read. I've read Challenger, Disillusioned. What did I read in March? Oh, the Game of Thrones one. So yeah, I think this is probably the best nonfiction I've read this year so far. It's not a 5-star, it's 4-star vibes, but it's still the best nonfiction that I've read so far in 2025. I don't remember when I last updated y'all on the trees, but I am now at the halfway point, so I don't have much more to say. But going on with the characters and not being kind of confusing, we are now, we're in the second quarter is what I read today. We just keep getting introduced to random people that aren't in Mississippi, and that I'm just like, oh my gosh, writing more, like what's happening? There's just so many characters at this point that it is just very overwhelming. With like the tone, the writing, I do think this is comedic at times. Now, this does obviously have dark themes and everything, but just some of the lines are funny and some are just like, oh my gosh, he went there. There's this one specific one that I'm not going to say on here because it's very vulgar, and I was just so shocked. Like, I was stunned that he went there. And going to like one of the things in the plot, it makes so much sense for it to have happened. I don't know if I talked about this already. I don't remember when I read it. It makes so much sense for it to have gone to this place that I didn't expect it at all, because you don't really think about it with modern times, even though it's something that is obviously happening. And I think this was my first time reading about it. I've seen it like in movies, but seeing it on page, I was shocked. I was like, oh my gosh, we're going here. This is really happening. That's another thing with this book. Even though we do have kind of these paranormal aspects to it, it's so real. Like, it feels like this could really happen. Like, all these people just seem so real. The setting is so real. And it's a great critique of white supremacy. As it says, it's a critique of white supremacy. It's doing a great job of that. And just the revenge story, it says, a blistering tale of revenge in the Deep South. It's such a clever way to do a revenge story, and to just write a story like this is so unique and so different than usual books that are critiquing white supremacy. Hey guys, happy Thursday. I did go to the little free library at the park today, but didn't see anything that I wanted. It was looking actually kind of moldy in there. I don't know who you get in contact with about that, and I don't know if it was actually mold or if it was just dirt, but it looked kind of concerning. But it does look like somebody had recently organized everything. But I'm here to talk about Chesapeake Requiem, a year with the watermen of Tangier Island, so by Earl Swift. As you can see, I just finished the book. I'm going to give it a 4-star. With my nonfiction, I don't really do decimals. It just did not hit that 5-star quality. But let's talk about my thoughts on this book. The people in this, that is something I love about nonfiction, is that it just humanizes the little things in life. Like this being about crabbing and the blue crab industry, the seafood industry. It really brings to life how that meal gets to your plate, And this is really showcasing this community of Tangier Island, and it's making it come to life through the people of the island. And it just shows that people are layered, because I don't agree with a lot of these people on some of their beliefs, but I can still recognize good qualities in them. And I think that's important, that you can recognize everything about a person. I know that's something really difficult. It's hard to put this into words of what I'm trying to say, but I do think that it is impactful to know why people believe the things that they believe, and that's just really fascinating. This is really like kind of going into the atmosphere, a isolated religious community that is very eccentric, not like anywhere I've ever been or probably will go. I mean, I don't know. You never know. Never say never. But it's just very eccentric and somewhere that a lot of people haven't been. That's something great about reading, is it puts you into the shoes of somebody else. This is an island with only about 400 and something people. I mean, it's 400 to 500 people. So I'm going to say, I don't think anybody watching this video has been to Tangier Island or lives on Tangier Island. This will immerse you into their community, put you into their shoes of what is happening. Further writing, at the start it was kind of lengthy to me, but just as it got going, it was a lot better. And I do recommend picking up the audiobook, but okay, so y'all know my family is from like the Hampton Roads area of Virginia, so we say Norfolk, but on the audiobook they say Norfolk, and that's when you know somebody is not from there. And I don't know where the audiobook narrator is from, but just kind of that pronunciation kind of bugged me. So some of the other places in Virginia, like Accomack, I've never known how to say that. I don't know how they were saying it in here. Accomack is how I say it. I don't remember, like, I know they pronounced it differently than me, but I can't say it was that with the audiobook, but I do recommend the audiobook. I do think it was a good listen. And I thought this was going to be about isolated communities and can they exist in the real world, or not the real world, but the modern world. And yes, that is touched on, but this is mainly about climate change and what the rising sea levels is doing to this island. And it brings up the really interesting question of who and what is worthy of saving from climate change and saving from the rising sea levels. Really interesting to think about. But I did really enjoy this book. Best nonfiction I've read so far this year, and I would recommend that you guys pick it up. Okay, where is this? Yeah, I don't know how many pages I read today, so I'm sorry about that. We will go into that weekly wrap up. So I've read over 100 pages every day this week, and I have hauled how many books? 2 books this week. So I hauled Enchant the Healers, and that was for $7.17. I got that on eBay. A Roman historical romance book with kind of like Celtic elements as well. Then I hauled Our Infinite Fates, which was $16 at Target, and it's a pretty one with sprayed edges and all that. That's how they make books nowadays. And that is a young adult, maybe romantasy, but dealing with past lives and all that. I think that'll just be fun and intriguing to read, because I don't really read that many things like that. But what am I going to be reading next week, and what will the focus of next week's vlog be? It's just going to be, oh, it's the reset. So next week is the reset. We are going to be preparing for the reading month of May. April showers bring May flowers. Awesome. The book that I'm going to be reading is Stoner by John Williams. This is about a man, William Stoner, who he is born in Missouri. Yeah, a Missouri farming family in the 19th century. And he goes down a different path than what anybody else in his family has done before. And he decides to go to university to be like an intellectual, studies English literature, and embraces a scholar's life. He goes and gets married, and it's just a very dual and bleak story of this man's life and just the simplicity of life and how he chose a different life for himself and if that was the right choice. That's what we will be reading next week, Stoner by John Williams. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, comment, rate, and subscribe. And don't forget to ring that notification bell to be notified when all my videos go live. Easter is this weekend, so if you celebrate, I hope you have an happy Easter weekend. And if you made it through this whole video, leave an Easter emoji in the comments below. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!